You found your way to Whispers of Crimes, a quiet corner where the shadows of the past are gently told. Here, we speak of real crimes and mysteries, not to shock or scare, but to wonder, to reflect, and maybe to help you fall asleep. So close your eyes, let your thoughts slow down, and come with me into tonight's case. On December 20th, 2006, Glenn and Jeanette Whittle, a quiet couple from Tewksbury, England, vanished without a trace. Their children woke up to an empty house, no signs of struggle, no clues to their whereabouts. The couple's car was found abandoned miles away, but the mystery only deepened from there. Was this a voluntary disappearance, or had something far more sinister happened? Over the next few months, chilling discoveries would raise more questions than answers. Join me as we delve into the baffling case of Glenn and Jeanette Whittle's disappearance, a story that has left family, friends, and authorities searching for answers to this day. What really happened to them? Let's find out. Chapter 1. The Whittle family background. The Whittle family, consisting of Glenn and Jeanette, were well-known and respected members of the Tewksbury community in Gloucestershire, England. Glenn, 45, worked as a logistics manager, handling supply chain operations, while his wife, Jeanette, 43, was a homemaker who dedicated herself to raising their two children, Lee and Sally. Although they lived a relatively quiet, unassuming life, they were deeply rooted in their local community, known for their kindness and reliability. Their home, located on a suburban street in Tewksbury, had been the setting of their peaceful family life for over a decade. The couple had been married for 18 years at the time, and there were no indications of any major struggles in their relationship. In fact, friends and neighbors often remarked on how solid and happy the Whittles seemed, with their children excelling in school and their social circles growing wider over the years. Despite this outward tranquility, a sense of foreboding seemed to linger in the background of their final days before the couple's mysterious disappearance in December 2006. This wasn't a family that would have gone off without telling anyone, which only made their sudden vanishing even more perplexing. On December 20th, 2006, this peaceful existence was shattered without any warning. Chapter 2. The Disappearance. The evening of December 20th, 2006 was uneventful. Glenn came home from work at the usual time, and Jeanette was busy with household chores. Their children, Lee and Sally, were in their respective rooms, with Lee, who was 17 at the time, busy with his schoolwork, and Sally, 15, spending time with friends. The family had no reason to suspect that the following morning would be anything other than normal. But when Lee woke up the next morning, he was immediately struck by something unusual. His parents were gone. The house was silent, devoid of the usual sounds of family life. Both Glenn and Jeanette's bedroom doors were ajar, but the beds had not been slept in. In fact, the bed covers were still neatly made, and their personal items, wallets, phones, and purses were nowhere to be found. Lee, growing more concerned, searched the house in vain. He then reached out to his sister, Sally, and the two began searching the house together, hoping they'd find some clue as to where their parents had gone. There were no signs of forced entry, no indication of a break-in, and no signs of a struggle. Their parents' car, a silver Ford Focus, was missing from the driveway, furthering their worry. Realizing that something was wrong, Lee immediately called the police. Within hours, officers arrived at the Whittle home to investigate. The initial response was cautious. There had been no sign of foul play, no ransom demands, and no unusual activities before the couple disappeared. At first, it seemed as if Glenn and Jeanette had simply walked out of their home on their own, for reasons unknown. Chapter 3. The search begins. The investigation into the disappearance of Glenn and Jeanette Whittle began immediately, with local authorities combing through the area surrounding their home. Officers canvassed the neighborhood, talking to friends, family, and neighbors to uncover any clues. Yet every person they spoke to seemed equally puzzled. No one had seen or heard anything suspicious the night before or in the hours leading up to the couple's disappearance. The police expanded their search to the surrounding areas, searching nearby parks, woodlands, and abandoned buildings. They also requested information from anyone who might have seen the couple's car. However, no leads came forward, and the couple's financial records revealed no withdrawals or suspicious activity, further complicating the investigation. In the days following the Whittles' disappearance, the media began to report on the case. The local press made it a focal point of the evening news, which, in turn, led to even more speculation. Some believed a couple had voluntarily left their home, possibly due to personal issues that hadn't been revealed to the public. Others felt this was highly unlikely, given the couple's strong family bonds. Chapter 4. The discovery of their car. On December 27, 2006, just 1 week after Glenn and Jeanette vanished, the first major breakthrough came. A farmer in the rural outskirts of Tewksbury discovered a car that appeared to have been abandoned for several days. The car, a silver Ford Focus, was identified as the Whittles' vehicle. The car was found parked in a secluded area near a country road, not far from where the couple lived. Strangely, the doors were locked and the keys were still in the ignition. Personal belongings such as Glenn's wallet, Jeanette's purse, and their coats were found inside the vehicle, but neither Glenn nor Jeanette was anywhere to be found. The discovery of the car was perplexing. It raised more questions than answers. Why would they drive to such a remote location and leave their car behind? And why would they leave their belongings inside the vehicle if they had voluntarily disappeared? The police began to explore all possibilities, from abduction to voluntary disappearance, but nothing fit the situation perfectly. Still, the discovery of the car remained the most significant piece of evidence in the case, and the investigation entered a new phase. Chapter 5. Theories and speculation. As the weeks turned into months without any sign of Glenn and Jeanette, theories about what had happened began to multiply. One of the first suggestions was that the couple had staged their own disappearance, possibly to escape financial or personal issues that had remained hidden from their family and friends. However, this theory was quickly dismissed by those who knew the Whittles well. Friends and neighbors described the couple as a close-knit, happy family with no apparent reason to flee. A more disturbing theory was that Glenn and Jeanette had been the victims of foul play. If someone had kidnapped or harmed them, why had the car been left behind in such an isolated location? Could it have been a crime of opportunity? Or was someone familiar with the couple involved? The police began to look into the possibility that the couple had been targeted, though the lack of ransom demands or contact with the family made this theory hard to confirm. There were also suggestions that Glenn and Jeanette had been involved in a violent encounter, perhaps related to Glenn's work or connections. But without solid evidence, all these theories remained speculative and the investigation continued to stall. Chapter 6. New leads and continuing frustration in the months following the disappearance, the case began to go cold. The police continued to receive tips from the public, but nothing substantial came to light. Then, in March 2007, another lead emerged. An anonymous tip-off suggested that authorities search a wooded area several miles from where the car had been found. The police followed up on this lead, and after an extensive search, they discovered something chilling, a piece of clothing that appeared to belong to Jeanette. It was found partially buried under some brush, just off a rural path. This discovery reignited hope that the couple might still be alive, but it also intensified the mystery surrounding their disappearance. If Jeanette had left the clothing there, why wouldn't she have taken it with her if she had been abducted? Why leave such a clear trace in a place previously searched? The discovery added to the puzzle but failed to provide a definitive explanation. Despite a renewed focus on the search, no further clues were uncovered. As the months turned into years, the Whittles case slipped into obscurity with few updates from law enforcement. Chapter 7. The ongoing mystery as of today. The disappearance of Glenn and Jeanette Whittle remains unsolved. Despite numerous efforts by the police and public interest from local media, no concrete evidence has been found to explain what happened to them. Their car, their belongings, and a few scattered clues are all that remain of their sudden and unexplained vanishing. For their children, Lee and Sally, the lack of closure has been devastating. Lee, now an adult, has publicly spoken about the difficulty of growing up without knowing what happened to his parents. The mystery of their disappearance continues to haunt him and his sister, who have tried to live their lives despite the ever-present uncertainty. The police have not closed the case, and new leads continue to come in, albeit rarely. Still, for those closest to the Whittles, the absence of Glenn and Jeanette is a painful reminder of the fragility of life and the unknowns that often lurk just beneath the surface of everyday existence. The Whittle family's story remains one of England's most baffling disappearances, and as time passes, many wonder if the truth will ever be uncovered. Until then, the search for answers continues, as the mystery of the Whittles remains as elusive as ever. That's all for tonight's story. Another thread in the web of true crime, quietly unraveling as the night goes on. If you're still with me, thanks for listening. And if sleep has already taken you, may your dreams be peaceful and your mind at ease. I'll be here next time by the fire with another story waiting to be told. Good night, and don't forget to lock your doors.